It is 10 a.m. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica. It was a Sunday night of Game 7s across the NBA and the NHL in the NBA's Eastern Conference semifinals. The Boston Celtics eliminated the Milwaukee Bucks 109-81, powered by former Tennessee star Grant Williams with a career-high 27 points, going 7 of 18 from three-point land. The Celtics will start their Eastern Conference final series against the Miami Heat on Tuesday. In the West, the Mavericks pummeled the Phoenix Suns in Phoenix 123-90, moving on to face the Golden State Warriors in the Western Conference Finals beginning on Wednesday. On the ice, two series were determined in overtime as the Rangers beat the Penguins 4-3, successfully completing a comeback after going down 3-1 in the series. The Calgary Flames eliminated the Dallas Stars in the West with a 3-2 overtime win. The Atlanta Braves dropped a series against the San Diego Padres with a 7-3 loss on Sunday at 16-19. The Braves at the Brewers tonight at 6:40. ESPN's Adam Schefter reported this morning the Green Bay Packers are finalizing an extension with cornerback Jair Alexander for 4 years, $84 million. That's $21 million per year, a new mark for defensive backs. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Good morning. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. I hope you had a spectacular weekend and that you're ready to get back into it today. Lucas Panzica is back there making it happen, sweating it out, maybe. Cut it pretty close today.
Sweating what out? What, you not being here?
Everything is fine.
Oh, no, that's fine. I went and took a peek at you standing by the front door.
I know.
Give you a little wave.
That's how I knew I really wasn't in that much trouble, because you had time to come and peer out at me.
Yeah, we'll come get you, though.
While I was locked out of the building this morning. Hello, we made it. 615-737-1045 is the number. 615-737-1045 is how you get things done. I'll be honest with you. I'm dragging. This weekend was big. Lucas, what time did you call me this morning to get ready for the show? Because I am normally if you don't get me on the first call, I'm usually pretty good about getting you back in 2 to 3 minutes after the fact. I think you called me at about 9:10 this morning, or I didn't really respond until 9:15. I physically could not get myself out of bed until 9:40, and we made it here just in time.
Oh, so we were speaking while you were still in bed.
I was laying horizontally while we were on the phone because we had steeplechase this weekend. I had Titans rookie minicamp. I have many observations. But yeah, I'm still drying out a little bit.
So that's your version of pillow talk is what we're going to talk about after Titans rookie minicamp.
I mean, listen, this is the most intimate relationship I have at this point, even though I've been with my girlfriend for 3 years. We don't spend this much time together.
That's healthy.
Her and I. Yeah, well, listen, you and I are basically in the same boat. So whatever kind of toxicity exists between us, this is the closest to, a regular functioning relationship that either of us have. Anyway. Let's get the basketball stuff. I don't want to say out of the way because it was a really interesting day yesterday. 4 different Game 7s across the NBA and the NHL. Obviously, I have a lot of Titans rookie minicamp stuff to get into with you guys. And Trent Dilfer is going to be here in about, 15 minutes. Because also, between steeplechase and Titans practice, I was able to get out to Elite 11 yesterday at Lipscomb and see one of a great many quarterback prospects, including Nico Iamaleava, the 5-star quarterback commit to the University of Tennessee. So we'll talk about that with Trent here shortly. But what happened yesterday in sports in these 4 Game 7s was really interesting because both of the hockey games went to overtime and both of the NBA games were absolute blowouts. But nothing more impressive than what we saw Grant Williams do in Game 7. Grant Williams is the person who led the Boston Celtics past the Milwaukee Bucks en route to the Eastern Conference Finals yesterday. He had never taken more than 8 3-pointers in a game before this series. He'd never made more than 6. He'd never led the Boston Celtics in scoring. He did all of those things yesterday to help will his team to a win. Not Jason Tatum, not Marcus Morris, not any of the other Celtics players who you would look at and say, okay, if they're going to be able to do this, X, Y, and Z needs to have a big game. Grant Williams had 27 points. Tatum had 23. That was a stat line because just doing the box score after the fact. Because do you track I know the broadcast tracks point totals in real time or what their percentage from three is, but I'm not necessarily in basketball. I'll look what they had after the fact, but I'm not paying attention to that as closely during the game until I check after what they had just to kind of double check my notes or things like that for the radio show. I was shocked. I was shocked.
I thought it was a typo, the Grant Williams line.
Oh, my God.
I said he did not shoot 18 threes.
Grant Williams had to think it was a typo. Honestly, this was him last night talking about what Boston had allowed him to do and what he had helped his teammates to accomplish en route to getting rid of the pesky Milwaukee Bucks.
It's tough to, get in your own head when your entire team, 15 people walk up to you and say, let it fly, keep shooting. So for me, it was just all right, they're encouraging it, might as well take advantage.
And he did. He absolutely did. And this was something that was critical, right? Boston has looked really, really good throughout the course of this postseason. And outside of Game 5 in this series, because they blew a 14-point fourth quarter lead that allowed the Bucks to take the series lead. And then obviously needing to rattle off 2 straight wins to close out that series and to advance in Game 6 and Game 7. But the way that they did it was pretty unique. Grant Williams, he's played some critical minutes for them throughout the course of the season. And he's been in Boston, what for now? Is it 3 seasons? 3 or 2 seasons? He's been with the Celtics for a couple of seasons at this point.
Drafted in 19.
Okay, so he's been that's longer than I thought it was. Anyway, so he has turned into a more than serviceable pro. He's a legitimate role player for the Boston Celtics. That's not what I had him as coming out of college, but he is somebody who has been kind of looked at as an overachiever even throughout the course of his college career at Tennessee. He was a meaningful player. Obviously, Vols fans adore Grant Williams for what he was able to do for that basketball program. But what he was going to be able to make it in the league doing is his defense. And for him to have 27 points in a Game 7, that's not what Grant Williams is supposed to do, which was what makes sports great. Chris Paul, for example, is supposed to have more than 10 points in a Game 7, is supposed to put up more of a competitive effort. What an utter embarrassment what happened to the Phoenix Suns yesterday. And, of course, we have not talked since the Memphis Grizzlies got eliminated on Friday. That game, they put up a fight without Ja. They won by almost over 30. I think it was 32 in Game 6. Or in Game 5 for them to be able to push it to a Game 6. But obviously the Warriors advancing in that series now. So you're looking at the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference, the Mavericks and the Golden State Warriors in the Western Conference Finals as well. Should set up for a fun and competitive couple of series before we get ready for an NBA championship series. I really enjoyed, even as they were blowouts, the storylines from the basketball games were interesting enough to keep me invested. How much longer was Luka Doncic just going to bleep talk the entire Phoenix Suns roster and make Devin Booker to feel so small in one of the biggest moments of his career? The Boston Celtics being able to advance past Milwaukee. You would have liked them to be more competitive, sure, but the Grant Williams stuff was enough to keep me engaged throughout the course of those games. I really enjoyed yesterday just as a sports day. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no blowouts on the ice.
No, man. The hockey was very exciting as well. Now, I was watching the Tampa Bay Lightning game more than anything else over the weekend. That was probably the game that I caught the most of. You have hockey updates. Is that why you held a finger up to me?
Yeah, because had blowouts on the court yesterday, and they were certainly intriguing, a lot of storylines in them, but the hockey yesterday was incredible. The Rangers completing a 3-1 comeback against the hated Pittsburgh Penguins for their first playoff series win in I don't know how many years. It was electric last night.
Yeah, well, I to be honest, I saw only parts and pieces of the hockey. The game that I paid attention to most was the Tampa Bay Lightning securing their position and eliminating the Toronto Maple Leafs, which was just the laughingstock of the sports internet, like across that, because of the way that the Maple Leafs just cannot for the life of them advance past the first round, no matter how many times they try.
One of 5 Game 7s in the NHL over the course of Saturday and Sunday. The playoffs have been incredible this season.
In hockey?
Yeah.
Have you paid close attention to him since the Preds have only been eliminated now. I mean, this is going to be a week since they've gotten swept in the first round. And I must admit, as far as hockey is concerned, like unless the Preds are in it, I'm not going to pay as close attention unless I just happen to be, sitting down on a Sunday evening and flip on a hockey game and just kind of pick it up from like a second period on, basically.
Yeah. I live in a hockey household, so hockey is going to take precedence over the NBA playoffs every time. My roommate is a diehard Kings fan. They lost in a Game 7 to the Oilers on Saturday. But every series, to be honest, with the exception of the Preds series, has been wildly entertaining.
Do you think that I don't know if Nashville could have given Calgary as difficult a run as they experienced. And obviously they advance against Dallas in overtime yesterday, a score of 3-2. I have to believe, though, because it's not like the Stars are without flaw. I have to think that the Preds would have had a substantially better chance of at least making a competitive first round as opposed to getting swept against the Calgary Flames as they did against the Colorado Avalanche. But, they had complete and total control over that. And here we sit. Fun hockey everywhere except for Nashville, Tennessee. Now, there was some fun stuff going on at Lipscomb yesterday. I had the opportunity to go out and observe my first Elite 11 combine, as it were. Now, they do these regionals for the Elite 11, the quarterbacks, who are prospects, and in this case, the 2023 class and 2024 class, had the opportunity to go out and check out what was happening on the field yesterday. And of course, Lipscomb Academy's own Trent Dilfer oversees and is a massive part of the Elite 11 structure. We're going to talk about that with Trent next, as well as some quarterback stuff going on around the league. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
The Buck Reising Show is powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Go to springhillac.com.
Welcome back. Very happy to have our next guest on the line, Lipscomb Academy head coach Trent Dilfer, of course, the Elite 11 head coach, been such a massive part of that, so critical to the development of so many young quarterbacks across high school, college, and the NFL. I was fortunate to get to go out to the Elite 11 Regional yesterday at Lipscomb Academy and see that kind of take place for the first time. Trent, I appreciate you stopping by, boss.
I'm glad you had me, Buck. Did you wear some sunscreen yesterday? Because I got fried.
Buddy, I have never been so raw in my life. I did steeplechase and Titans practice on Saturday, was adequately, sunscreened. And then I did not prepare enough for Sunday.
I can tell.
On the turf, because I am bright red in this studio, man.
My wife and daughters were killing me last night on my farmer's burn, they called it.
Yeah, there's not much color there yet, but perhaps in the next couple of days that'll even out a little bit for us. Trent, I want to talk about Elite 11 here in just a second, but obviously you guys have a busy week or weekend bleeding into this week with the first annual college showcase taking place today at Lipscomb. What can you tell us about this situation?
Yeah, we're really excited. It was a brainchild of my defense coordinator, Sione Tofola. He saw Bosco. We think we're the second team that's done this in the country. John Bosco out of Southern California has done this for a few years, where you get so much recruiting traffic, and it's hard for coaches to plan the recruiting schedules when they're out on the road. Especially, a lot of the guys have Middle Tennessee, also have North Georgia, also have South Kentucky. They have a large area to cover. So we want to make it easier for them. We've had 65 coaches come in already. We've had over 100 offers to our kids. But tonight it kind of culminates with what I would call a NFL Pro Day meets SEC spring game at the high school level. So we'll get accurate measurements for all of our kids, height, weight, hand size, wingspan, all the measurables that the colleges want to see. And now they know they're verified. We'll move them in movement stations. So think short shuttle, 40, 10s, bounding, one-legged stuff. So they get to see their movement qualities. And then we'll go and have our final spring practice of the year. We'll go through a complete individual session, a group session, and then with the team session. So we're guessing we've had about 35 RSVPs. We think we have about 50 other techs of coaches that are trying to get here. So we'll have 50 to 75 college programs represented. Our kids are excited. They worked really hard for this. And now the colleges get to see them, up close and personal, and verified movements and verified measurables and how they compete at a high level in a practice situation.
I can't imagine how hyped the college coaches are about that. That seems like an incredible asset that you guys are presenting them with, given that, as you mentioned, that there doesn't seem to be many other high schools around the country doing something like this.
Well, I think they're more excited for the free food we're going to give them.
Well, sure. So. Hey, I work in media now for about 7 years, Trent. Free food is my love language. I completely understand that.
Exactly. And we'd love to bring this to Middle Tennessee. This isn't just for Lipscomb kids. Now, I think there's some TSSAA stuff we got to work through, but I'd love to see. There's some really talented kids in Middle Tennessee. Not all high schools can do this. Obviously, we have baseball playoffs going on. Kids are running track. Other schools have challenges that we may not have. So we're hoping to set a precedent that's good for kids, that at some point we might have other schools here, our rivals, public schools, other privates, whatever it is, kind of a one-stop shop. So when these colleges come through, they get to see them and compare the kids to one another. And really the thought behind this was less the physical stuff. And I hope people understand, the physical makeup of a prospect is only so much. It's how they do the other stuff. What type of student are they? What type of leader are they? Are they attentive to detail? Are they engaged in a drill when they're not in the drill? What's their effort, their energy like on the football field? Like, these are the things that the really good recruiters look at. So we want to provide that opportunity where they can see our kids doing those things, and we'd love to see them. We'd love for those guys to be able to come in and see CPA and BA and Pearl Cone and Cane Ridge and Clarksville or any other schools. We're hoping, I'm hopefully going to talk to the TSSAA about this summer to see if there's a way that's all legal. Nobody's gaining an advantage that can just showcase all the kids in Middle Tennessee.
Lipscomb Academy head coach Trent Dilfer is our guest here on 104.5 The Zone. Really cool things happening at Lipscomb Academy, and Trent doing a lot for high school football and for college prospects here in Middle Tennessee, and for everybody who was able to attend the Nashville Elite 11 Regional yesterday. It was so cool to watch that process, Trent. Just, I'm at Titans practice almost every day. I see how much people like Mike Vrabel and his staff value this time of year that they get with the players, phase 2, where they're just working skills. You're building the fundamentals that you will need to play your position and further workshop your craft at such a base level, even though these guys have been playing football their entire lives. To get to witness a little bit of that yesterday, heat or not, was really, really impressive to watch. I thought your staff did an exceptional job.
Yeah, they do an incredible job. 12 years ago, when I became the head coach of Elite 11, we kind of built the framework. So the analogy I give is, we built something, we laid the foundation, put up the framing, we put up the drywall, we put up all the nice amenities in the house, and over the course of time, these coaches have owned it, and they've kind of remodeled it and added better granite countertops and a better refrigerator and the espresso maker, and did an outdoor plan, so they have a covered patio and a pool. And my point is that they've really owned it. There's 12 core coaches that we hired the first 3 years, and they've taken great ownership of it and worked in conjunction with student sports to go on 9 to 14 tours a year across the country and really hopefully give these quarterbacks who are dreaming of playing at the next level and maybe beyond that the skill set to do so. And a lot of it's more than just what they learn on the field. It's how they approach the position. There's a holistic component to it, which I believe is part of football. I believe you build the soul first and the player comes, and then the skill stuff comes second. So it's been really fruitful for myself as a leader of it, but more importantly, the staff. A lot of them have launched businesses that are good for kids and good for themselves around the country where they train quarterbacks full time. It's just been a really neat, as we call it, tribe that's kind of gone around the country and hopefully positively affected quarterbacks. I mean, I think we look back at now, and I haven't got the updated numbers, but it's more than 85% of Power 5 starters have been through the Elite 11, 12 of the last 13 first quarterbacks taken in the NFL draft. I want to say it was 27 out of 32 NFL starters have been through our process. So we've had connective tissue to the best quarterbacks in the world and still keep a really tight bond with many of them.
Yeah, no, that was something that I noticed. I obviously wasn't like hovering over your guys' huddle at midfield before it began and afterwards, but just kind of, hearing a little bit of what people were talking about at the respective drills. The fraternity of it is something that seems so as valuable as anything else that comes out of this. And it was funny because I kept hearing people rattle off not random quarterback names, but names of quarterbacks as if they were going to be quizzed on it. The kids were at the respective drills. I heard Brock Osweiler. I heard Ryan Tannehill. Are they asked trivia in the middle of these drills by the coaches, or what was that I was overhearing?
Yeah, they are. We really challenge their minds throughout a camp day as much as their bodies. So they're going to be given tasks throughout the day that they have to accomplish, and then some memorization skills. And then really the goal is to learn how to compete with yourself and help the person next to you. One of the bigger lies in sports today is that you're competing against the guy that you're trying to get the job from. You're really competing against yourself. The Latin root of compete was an internal word association. So it's bring the best out of yourself. So we're trying to teach these kids, hey, go chase your best, help the guy next to you chase his best, and everything will work out well for both of you. So a lot of it is collaboration in the course of the day. You might forget the 2012 class, you write off 7 guys, and you're getting ready to be asked a question. You might have to look to the guy to your left or the guy to your right and say, help me out here. There's this big, tall, 6'7" guy from Montana. I forget his name. What's his name? Brock Osweiler. Okay. So we do a lot of fun stuff throughout the day to get these guys growing together instead of feeling like they're competing to beat each other at something. Let's be the best we can be, chase our personal best, and the rest will figure itself out.
Now, what you've just articulated there, Trent, I'm so glad that you said, because that's the thing, at least here locally, and you know how the national news cycle works when it comes to this time of year. That's exactly the kind of dialogue that I think people have misunderstood about Malik Willis, who is, of course, an alumni of the Elite 11, and Ryan Tannehill here in Tennessee, with everything that's gone through what I'm calling Mentorgate, this complete and total nonsense around Ryan Tannehill's comments. And the way that you have just articulated it, I think is so critical for people to understand, because it's so easy to get caught up in, oh, this quarterback is threatened about his job or is being insecure, when all Ryan Tannehill does is give an honest answer about the nature of competition when it comes to the quarterback room.
Yeah, Buck, I mean, people are bored this time of year, let's be honest. Like, any soundbite in any situation throughout the NFL college football landscape is going to become clickbait.
Yeah.
I would just say this. I know Ryan Tannehill. He's one of the finer human beings in the NFL. You can think one way or another about the playoff game or what he is as a quarterback. I think that's fair for anybody to have their opinions. But Ryan's an incredible human. Malik Willis is an incredible human. They're going to be just fine. And I think in any quarterback room, you understand, like, it's a big job. I don't know if this is a great comparison, but if you're a CEO running a Fortune 500 company, you don't have a whole lot of time to have a fellow in your office that you're trying to mentor to become the next CEO. You're making shareholder decisions every single day that impact lives. And you don't necessarily have time to sit down, kick your feet up, and go, hey, here's what I've done the last 3 hours. Why don't you take notes, and I'm going to teach you how to do this one day. That's kind of close to what it is in the NFL, being an NFL quarterback. It's a huge, huge job, and it takes everything in your being to be good at it. Now, in the course of that, there's relationships that are built, and I truly believe that Ryan and Malik are going to have a great relationship. And within the midst of that relationship, as Ryan's trying to be a better NFL starting quarterback, if Malik takes the effort to learn from that and to be a sponge, he's going to learn a lot in that process. It doesn't mean Ryan has to be focused on, hey, I'm going to make sure I carve time out of my day and maybe sacrifice how good I could be at this position in this job to help this guy. It's like, no, I'm going to attack this with my full vigor. I'm going to invest my entire life into this. I'm making sacrifices to be great at this, and it's on him to watch and learn and ask questions and ask the why behind it. I think Malik would say the same thing. I actually think it's a really healthy relationship that's going on there with the Titans in the quarterback room, and one I only think is going to get better.
Lipscomb Academy head coach Trent Dilfer, our guest here on 104.5 The Zone. Yeah, are those the kind of messages that you were trying to impart to the Elite 11 group yesterday, Trent? Because I know you had a few minutes to hang out with them after the fact, and I wonder, how much you try to get across to them in that kind of a setting, understanding that it's not a lot of time, and these guys have just been through, about 4 hours and 20 minutes of really, really intensive is probably not the word, but drills that they need to be locked in and focused on.
Yeah, it's always hard to distill your thoughts into a few minutes and say, okay, what matters the most, right? And that's what I try to do in these settings. And I'll get more time with them in June. The finals are in Southern California, late June during our dead period here. So I'll be able to spend more time with them then and dive deeper. But really it was this. It was like, hey, guys, there's 50-something of you here today competing for an Elite 11 spot, another 30 of you that are underclassmen. I can tell you right now, 90% of you are better than I was at this age. 90% of you are better than Josh McCown was at this age, and Josh was here yesterday. And
right.
90% of you are better than Kurt Warner, who's been an Elite 11 dad. But that's not how you're going to make it. Your talent, how you throw a football, how quick your feet are, your size, your measurables, that gives you a head start. And frankly, it may give you a longer leash when you get to college football. They're going to allow you to make more mistakes. But it's going to be the boring, monotonous stuff. The attention to detail, the lonely stuff that nobody sees you do behind the scenes that's going to allow you to make it to the next level. And we're just here to give you a head start, like to just get you aware of those things. And for the Elite 11 guys that are rising seniors, it's like use your senior year, use the fall of your senior year to develop some skill sets within your high school team that's going to make your high school team better, but it's also going to make your college team better and give you a chance to succeed when you get there. I'll use my quarterback last year, Luther Richardson, as a great example. He was as fine a leader for us last year in our run as you could ever find. He worked harder than any human I'd ever been around. He did stuff, lonely stuff, that nobody will ever get him credit for, that only me and his parents knew he did. The lonely hours at night watching film of our opponents, or breaking down, or doing studies, or reaching out to teammates, whatever it may be. Not only did that help us accomplish our goal last year, but it's going to launch him when he goes to Cincinnati to be more prepared to compete for that job and be a great Bearcat and be a great quarterback for them. And that's kind of the messaging. It's all the stuff that's not on Instagram. It's not on Twitter. It's not on TikTok. It's not in the media. Basically, you can make it that simple. Whatever people are celebrating, that is a small part of it. It's all the other stuff they're not celebrating that's going to get you to where you ultimately want to be.
Lessons not just applicable to sports, but life as well, and people too quick to forget them. Among the guys who are advancing to the Elite 11 finals out of yesterday's regional, Trent, Avery Johnson out of Kansas. You have Brock Glenn, the Memphis quarterback, and Nico Iamaleava, who, of course, Vols fans showed up to see yesterday and to kind of get an idea of what their 2023 quarterback commit is going to look like in the orange come next fall. Nico is obviously a hugely talented prospect. Outside of the things that we know his athletic gifts are, and that you guys are looking to, kind of refine and help him refine as a part of his skill set, what can you tell Vols fans about what you observed from Nico yesterday?
Fiercely competitive. Still in the earn it phase. He's not entitled. We've run into this over 12 years. A lot of guys are celebrated so much, and they get these stars and they get these big offers, and now with NIL they get a bunch of money that a lot of them succumb to entitlement and think that they've arrived. And the ones we're really looking for are the ones that are in the earn it phase. And Nico's still in the earn it phase. He still knows he's got a lot of things to improve upon. He knows it's a big job being a quarterback in the SEC. He knows he's going to a program that's just pouring gasoline on their development. I mean, Hype and UT's done such a good job of kind of taking themselves out of the dust bowl and putting them as a national recognized program again. So he knows the gravity of the job. I think those are all things that we knew about him because we know about him from Southern California. Remember, most of us are California guys by nature, so we kind of grew up out there and cut our teeth in California football. So we've known about Nico a long time. But for Middle Tennessee in general, people that want to know about Nico, he is way more than the flash and sizzle. There's a lot of substance there.
Yeah, Long Beach Poly definitely been pumping out high-level football prospects for a long time now. Worst sunburn, you, me, or the guy who was passed out in his lawn chair on top of the motorhome yesterday?
So that was my number one thing. When I pulled up, I had to dump some stuff off at the dumpster above our football facility, and I looked down on the field and I saw him parked there. So the first thing I did was go across the field and meet him and say, "Man, you're my idol. All these years of doing this, you're the first guy I've seen roll up in the RV trailer in the Jeep with a lawn chair." And I said, "You figured this thing out." Buck, I want to say one more thing about Middle Tennessee football. It's been really, really interesting to learn. As these 65 coaches has come through, a lot of them are veteran Middle Tennessee recruiting coaches. And they said, for many years, this was not a hotbed of talent. You would find a good player, a few good players, and we know that because there's guys playing the NFL. But in general, this was not in the top 15 of areas to come to recruit the masses. And this is really a shout out to the coaches around Middle Tennessee, both public and private. What a great job they've done building their programs. We're new to the scene, right? So I'm not taking you credit for this, but now they're coming through saying, "Hey, this has become one of the top 4 to 5 spots that we come. That you can come to Middle Tennessee, and if you do your work and you go to all the different schools around here, that you're going to find as many good prospects as you will in most places around the country." I've heard Ohio, Florida, Georgia, California, Tennessee being compared to those areas. So it's really a shout out to the high school coaches in Tennessee, and what a great job they're doing building the program, the quality of football and the quality of kid, because it's not just player. They're not just recruiting talent. They're recruiting a kid, a fit, a culture guy. And the coaches around here do a really good job with that.
I'm so happy that you brought that up, Trent, because we had Tim Banks, the Vols defensive coordinator, on last week to talk about Theo Jackson. He just got drafted here to the Titans out of Tennessee. And that was one of the biggest things that I wanted to bring up with Coach Banks is just how much improved that has become over the course of the last couple of years. I know that Josh Heupel and his staff have only been in East Tennessee for a season now, a full season now, and now an off season, but that is something that seems to be a universal sentiment. So I'm glad that you brought that up.
And what Clark's doing at Vandy, I mean, it's just the quality of kids you're looking at. You can't build programs of talent. Talent is part of it. You have to build it with fit, and you have to build with the right kind of kid that fits your culture. And the good thing that I'm hearing from Clark and Hype and Stock and all these other coaches, you know, around not just Tennessee, but you get into North Georgia, the schools there, you get into Kentucky, who's recruited us hard, and other areas around here hard. You're not just getting a talented kid. You're getting a kid that's paid his dues, that understands team football, that understands the grind and the work and the selflessness that comes behind building good programs. And that's why I'm so excited about Friday Night Lights in Tennessee in general, is because as you get more of those kids, the tide rises, every program gets better, and now Friday Night Lights just becomes that much more exciting.
Trent Dilfer, Lipscomb Academy head coach at Dilfer Dimes is where you can follow him. The first annual college showcase at Lipscomb Academy taking place today. Trent, thank you so much for the time. I appreciate you guys letting me come out there yesterday, and I hope we'll get the opportunity to chat again soon.
All right, brother. Swing on by tonight. Thanks for having me.
That's Trent Dilfer there with us on 104.5 The Zone. You excited for high school football now?
I am excited for high school football.
Trent Dilfer get you going?
Trent got me fired up.
Look at that. That's good coaching. Yeah, Lucas Panzica, of course, on the call for the 104.5 The Zone high school game of the week. Yesterday, I got excited for high school football, and that's not something I've had, I guess. You know, I don't have an attachment, right? I don't have kids in high school. I don't broadcast the games the way that Lucas and Will Bowling do during the fall, and I've only had the opportunity to be around a couple of these high school football programs since I've been in town, but watching a lot of the local talent that was there yesterday. I mean, we talked about Chris Parson from Ravenwood, who has been our high school hero, our TN high school football hero of the week that we do during the high school football season to highlight some of the accomplishments from local kids. Both of Tim Hasselback's kids at MBA were out there slinging around. He brought up Josh McCown. Aiden McCown, his son, was in the same group as Nico Iamaliava and going through these quarterback drills. There is a lot. I love that they're making it a place where not just Tennessee high school players can come and be recruited and be a part of, but that kids are coming from all over the country to Nashville, Tennessee, to participate in things like the Elite 11 Regional or this first annual college showcase that Lipscomb is putting on today. And yeah, I mean, you heard Trent kind of articulate that they're having to work through some stuff because it's not being done in a lot of other places, many other places at all. But it's something that they want to be on the forefront of, and it only serves the entire state with Clark Lee and Josh Heupel and everything that people love in this state, which is, of course, football at its core.
The class of 2022 is one of the most talented to ever come through Tennessee. The Wade twins from Summit going to Kentucky, Luther Richardson, Alex Broom, who played for Trent Lipscomb Academy, going to Cincinnati and Boston College, respectively. That's just scratching the surface of the talent that was dispersed around college football in this class. So I cannot wait to see the class of 2023 and the younger talent that's going to rise up this coming high school season. And these camps that Trent puts on go a long way in determining who those kids are going to be.
Well, and the biggest complaint that we got about doing the high school football hero segment last year is, why aren't you having the kids on that are going to Tennessee? Boston College, Kentucky, Cincinnati. Maybe we'll start to see that.
We've had one already in Caleb Herring, the Riverdale rising senior who committed a couple of weeks ago.
And we'll be a part of that 2023 class with Nico Iamaliava. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in on the conversation. I've got a few more observations that I want to share from this weekend that I got, a couple of different versions of football practice that I got to be a part of. I'll tell you what those are coming up next. Oh, goodness. I'm cackling reading some of the mentions today. Welcome back. All of our interviews, like Trent Dilfer, presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, just like this great radio show. Visit springhillac.com. V-Love has tweeted us. I almost want to demote Lucas and give V-Love Lucas's title as executive producer of the Buck Reising Show. Because he seems to find things with greater quickness and recall things with greater quickness than you do. So I'm thinking about demoting you on the air. How do you feel about this?
We've got quite a power struggle going on here.
One of your own creation, by the way.
What do you mean?
Well, because there's like 17 different people that I've seen back there with you over the course of, it feels like the last month and a half.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you're doing, what you're planning, if you're rallying troops to your cause as you seek to overthrow me in this chair. But whatever you're doing, I don't think it's working out the way that you quite planned, because all of these people seem hugely competent. And then there's you.
Yeah, then there's me. I'd love to say there's a method to the madness, but I don't know that there is.
Anyway, V-Love, this is, we've been on the air for a little over a year now. Are we allowed to have like callbacks like this? Because I don't think anybody but V-Love remembers the notebook. The weekly notebook dump that I started out doing on Mondays, and then people I don't know. It wasn't hitting the way that I wanted it to, so I did away with it. Is this the music?
Yeah, I still got it. Well, Throwback Monday on the Buck Reising Show.
Do you have the page turn? Oh! I mean, I guess I should do some weekend observations while we're here, because V-Love is asking about my maiden experience at steeplechase. Let me tell you, it was quite a treat. Steeplechase is unlike anything that I have witnessed in my 28 years, almost 29 years of life. It is exceptional. It is drunk. It is loud. It is wild. And it is all done in very, very high fashion. To be honest with you, I did not know what to make of the entire situation, and I don't think that I got the full experience, because 104.5 The Zone, of course, had our all-inclusive food and beverage, even had an air-conditioned, like, little truck out there right by the rail side that I could sit in the AC, charge my phone, and watch the horses roll by. So I didn't get quite, as wild and crazy as most do. But I will tell you that nobody, absolutely nobody, knows how to throw a party the way the city of Nashville does. And steeplechase, whether it's still at the height of its powers, as I know it was for many of you growing up here in Middle Tennessee, or what I witnessed on Saturday from the early hours, and then, had to duck out for Titans minicamp in the middle of it, and then come back to see Snap Decision repeat as a champion in the 81st Iroquois steeplechase. It was a really, really, really cool event. Look at that. Should we bring the notebook back from time to time?
Maybe we should.
Maybe not a weekly installment. I don't know what made us think that music was a good idea? Terrible music. What is that?
A little walk down memory lane for a show that's 1 year old.
I was about to say, we're not old enough as a program to have.
We don't have a memory lane.
Back in my day, I can't remember, buddy. I can't remember what time to get here. The show starts at 10. I'm squeaking in here at 9:59 this morning because I forgot my key card. Anyway, I hope V-Love enjoyed the notebook. I don't know that anybody else did or anybody else knew what we were doing, but that made me very, very happy. So, some interesting things happened over the weekend relating to the NFL news cycle, and I want to discuss them at length. I've still got rookie minicamp observations later on in the show to do, but there is one storyline from a former AFC South quarterback who is in the news about what he and his teammates are doing this weekend. I'm going to explain to you why that's relevant to you coming up next.
It is 11 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica. Former Tennessee star Grant Williams stole the show with a career-high 27 points, powering the Boston Celtics right past the Milwaukee Bucks 109-81 in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals.
In the paint, to the corner. Grant lines up a three. Got it! Grant Williams is saying, you have to be the hero, and he's starting to knock him down.
Williams went 7 of 18 from three-point land, and the Celtics will start their Eastern Conference Final Series against the Miami Heat on Tuesday. In the West, the Mavericks pummeled the Phoenix Suns 123-90, moving on to face the Golden State Warriors in the Western Conference Finals. That starts on Wednesday. It was a Sunday of Game 7s, not only in the NBA, but in the NHL. Two series were determined in overtime as the Rangers beat the Penguins 4-3, successfully completing a comeback after going down 3-1 in the series. And the Calgary Flames eliminated the Dallas Stars in the West with a 3-2 Game 7 overtime win. ESPN's Adam Schefter reported this morning the Green Bay Packers are finalizing an extension with cornerback Jair Alexander for 4 years, $84 million. That's $21 million per year, a new mark for defensive backs. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Having a great time on this Monday. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. If you're just now joining us, we're happy to have you here with us. And if you've been with us for the first hour, we're happy to have you back. We're here with you until 1 o'clock. Lucas is back there making it happen. Got a lot of things to discuss across the NFL and Titans rookie minicamp taking place Friday and Saturday. You're going to hear from Mike Vrabel, Malik Willis, and a couple other guys who performed in ways of varying degrees. I'll explain what I mean about that later on. 615-737-1045. That's the number if you want to jump in. 615-737-1045 is how you get involved today. There's a headline, though, that I saw this morning from NFL insider Josina Anderson, who I believe she was formerly of ESPN. I believe she's at CBS Sports currently. She'd been doing her own thing for a while and at a high level. Josina's been one of the people, certainly one of the women at the forefront of NFL news breaking. But there's a tweet from about 2 hours ago that I think is pretty funny. At Josina Anderson, I'm told Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson, I don't know why that's still a weird sentence for me to read, Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson. Anyway, I'm told Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson is treating the offense to the Bahamas this weekend. The trip is for team building and football chemistry, as Watson has also secured a field there to continue off-season workouts. So my guy got 200, I probably should be careful with that my guy stuff. Deshaun Watson is taking his entire offense to the Bahamas. If you're a defensive player, are you looking around at him like, what the hell? If Myles Garrett can afford to take himself to the Bahamas, but I'm sure Myles Garrett is looking around and being like, what, Donovan Peoples-Jones deserves to go to the Bahamas more than I do?
You think Baker's going? It's part of the offense. He's on the roster.
Put it on the poll. Do I think Baker's going? At Buck Reising is where you...
Myles Garrett's not the one who should be offended. Baker should be offended. I'm on the offense. I want to go to the Bahamas.
You don't know that he's not going?
You're right. I don't.
It says treating the offense to the Bahamas this week, and put it on the poll. Is Deshaun Watson taking Baker Mayfield with the rest of the offense to the Bahamas this weekend? Yes or no? What a tremendous, you know what? You have redeemed yourself. Everything that you've ever done wrong. Not that I've been the shining example of professionalism, almost showing up late to the radio show, first day of the week. But anything you've ever done against me, which includes plotting my professional demise, you have redeemed yourself with that joke. Bravo by you.
Safe for another week.
Mir Hawez on YouTube says, absolutely he's going, Baker Mayfield. Well, I mean, Baker got nothing else to do. He's the fourth string quarterback at this point. He didn't go to the voluntary offseason workouts, the start of it anyway. So it's not like Baker's doing a lot of football. I mean, I'm sure he's training, and I'm sure he's got his own quarterback coach and strength and conditioning program. But what do we think is on the itinerary for Deshaun Watson and the Browns offense in the Bahamas this weekend? Because understanding that there is some problematic stuff that I'm not comfortable making jokes around, like objectively, this whole situation is funny. This is like a National Lampoon family vacation, except, the one guy has a hugely problematic legal situation that he is still embroiled in the middle of, but also was given $230 million guaranteed by an NFL franchise. And so with that money, he's renting a practice field in the Bahamas, and he's taking the whole offense with him. They obviously cannot, even as they probably should avoid the spa. I would imagine that the spa package is not a part of the Deshaun Watson, Cleveland Browns offense vacation experience. So saving a little cash there, maybe that's how they're paying for the practice field. As opposed to having that on the itinerary, you go get a little work in instead.
Though I imagine that's a pretty popular thing to do when in the Bahamas on a relaxing vacation.
The spa? Sure. And I'm sure, well, maybe Deshaun pays for everybody else to go to the spa, but he himself, goes and, I don't know.
Lay low for a while.
If he's taking the entire offense, you're talking about that's probably, at this time of year, it's probably damn near 30 guys that you're schlepping down to the Bahamas, assuming that you're not asking them to pay for their own ticket. I would imagine they're going to fly, I would assume they fly private, given $230 million guaranteed. It's probably cheaper for them all to throw in on a jet that way. What are you laughing about?
I'd much prefer they fly commercial and see Watson in the Browns offense on your Delta flight. Sitting next to Nick Chubb.
Hey, you laugh, but that's a thing if you're like a WNBA player. You're a giant, 6'10" power forward in women's professional basketball, and you're cramped into economy because the New York Liberty won't fly you private. Actually, I think the New York Liberty were flying people private. They got in trouble for it. I should probably be careful. I don't know if the New York Liberty is actually the name of the team or not. Anyway, this whole situation and what's happening with that particular quarterback circumstance, you could not write a more ridiculous script for everything that we have experienced down here with, as I called it with Trent Dilfer earlier in the show, Mentorgate, with everything that's happening with Ryan Tannehill and Malik Willis. And I know a lot of you guys did not have the opportunity. In fact, Lucas, did you carry press conferences on Friday on Blaine and Mickey?
Yeah, we actually only carried Willis, and that's just the way it timed out because we had Jerry Neuheisel on the show as a guest. So he started top of the hour, and Willis was at the podium.
So we're gonna devote a substantial part of tomorrow's show just to Malik Willis. I've got the main headlines from rookie minicamp, and he's not necessarily a part of them from what my observations were. I'll explain what I mean by that later on in the show. But it's just a absolutely bleeping ridiculous situation that the Cleveland Browns have been trying to work through at quarterback, and still no movement on Baker Mayfield post-draft. And the Browns, still no indication that they're going to cut him. Who on earth are they holding out for to try and make a deal for a $19 million now fourth-string quarterback? I could not find a situation. I went through this morning and a little bit last night, just kind of preparing general topics for the radio show, not knowing that at the time that Deshaun Watson was going to schlep them all down to the Bahamas for a weekend. I can't find a situation where, other than Seattle, who has clearly expressed a disinterest, not a mutual disinterest, like Aaron Wilson reported about Baker Mayfield and the Carolina Panthers. Still one of the funniest reports of all time, that Baker and the Panthers had a mutual disinterest in one another's services. I don't know where he goes. He's going to get a job somewhere, right? He has to. Somebody is going to acquire Baker Mayfield in some form or fashion, because the Browns aren't going to ride out that cap hit. I mean, they're going to have to ride out that cap hit, it seems, in some way, shape, or form if they can't get somebody else to pay it. But I have no idea what the strategy is there. I don't know why I'm so fascinated. I've never cared this much about Baker Mayfield in my entire life. But just the storyline of how they botched the initial Deshaun Watson recruiting, how they ended up being so desperate as to give him everything that he wanted and more, just to be considered and then ultimately landed upon. And then you just have this stray quarterback out here who probably would not garner as much attention as he does if he wasn't a former number 1 overall pick, which in retrospect, and we do this a lot in retrospect, but Baker Mayfield, that draft, the way that it played out with Baker up top, there's a lot of wonky quarterback results, whether it's Tua being taken over Justin Herbert, or whether you're looking at Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson going after Mitch Trubisky in their respective draft. Well, who knows what the quarterback class from this year will look like, because beyond Kenny Pickett, the rest of the NFL told you, I don't know, figure it out. Okay. I find this whole situation fascinating, and I'm pretty curious to see. That's probably the biggest remaining NFL storyline out there, is what the hell happens to Baker Mayfield. Brady's already unretired, and gotten a $37.5 million deal to call games at some point in the future for Fox. Now there's Drew Brees back in the mix, apparently, because NBC decided that he was so bad after 1 year of professional work in the booth and in the Football Night in America studio show for Sunday Night Football that they don't seem to want him to come back. His Twitter feed would suggest otherwise. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff that is yet to be resolved in the NFL. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in on the conversation. There was something that took place this weekend in local sports that really, really caught my attention. Some stinging comments from a local pro coach who I want you to hear coming up next.
The Buck Reising Show is powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Visit springhillac.com.
Yes, indeed. Many thanks to Spring Hill Heating and Cooling for making our fine radio program possible. Less than fine was the result of Nashville Soccer Club this weekend. You want to do a Panzika? What are we calling this? We have the Panzika Preds Minute. We've got the Panzika. What else did we do with the Panzika Minute? There's a handful of Panzika minutes, I feel.
Had an F1 one at one point.
I had to squeeze them down because you were getting too many minutes, and then it started to threaten my ego. So I had to squeeze down your time yet again.
Find some sort of alliteration for this one.
Yeah, I don't really have anything clever for the soccer club. What the hell happened this weekend?
Yeah, just came out flat. Very heavily rotated squad in Houston. They had the U.S. Open Cup match midweek last week against Atlanta, and then a quick turnaround to get back on the road and face Houston. So you had to have some squad rotation, and typically what you'll see in that scenario is that rotation happening in the U.S. Open Cup match. And they did a little bit of that, but they really had a full-strength lineup in that game with Hani Mukhtar playing over 90 minutes. Into extra time, Walker Zimmerman basically going the distance, CJ Sapong coming on and scoring the equalizer. So they really went for it in that U.S. Open Cup game, and they did some very heavy rotation in Houston, and it just fell flat. I mean, Gary Smith kind of said it best. They just looked disjointed throughout the 90 minutes and somehow looked worse when they went up a man, and Houston got a red card. So going to have to hit the reset button as they come home for another midweek match against Montreal this week.
All right, so the only reason I bring this up is because the 2-0 loss against the Houston Dynamo was something that I thought was fascinating because of Gary Smith's comments. You don't ever hear a coach in any sport really talk about their players this way. What he had to say after this weekend's loss, because I didn't get a chance to see the match in person. I saw some of the highlights, or I guess lowlights, rather, and I saw the commentary being tweeted out by Ben Wright, who does such a great job covering Nashville SC for Broadway Sports. But to listen to Gary Smith just kind of openly roast his guys was pretty interesting.
Yeah, Gary, I don't want to belabor the point here, but it feels like from what you said on the post-game broadcast in here today, you kind of bet on depth, and were let down by that. Do you feel like that was just tonight, or do you feel like that could be indicative of a larger issue?
No, look. Do I think that we have enough coming into the game to make differences and to be more effective? I think the answer to that, Ben, based on what we've seen on a fairly regular basis, is probably no. We ain't got enough. I think people have been below par. And there are too many bodies that have been below par for too long. There have been guys that have started tonight that have been very, very decent for us. We've seen guys like Taylor and Eric perform at a very high level, and they've not been up to scratch tonight. But when we needed something more creative and with more gusto about it, if you like, it was lacking. You tell me who came into the game and made a difference creatively. You tell me who started the game and made a difference creatively. You tell me what your opinion is.
That's Gary Smith. One, tremendous accent. I could listen to Gary Smith talk about anything. It could be nonsense. It could be a word mismatch, and I would listen to 5 minutes of Gary Smith talking to me. But for a coach to be that publicly honest. Now, anytime I see, to be honest, I don't see a ton of like EPL post-game press conferences, but every once in a while you'll catch a couple of these, their managers is the commonly used term. You'll catch them being, maybe more honest than you expect from an NFL coach, sometimes because they're speaking in their second or third language and they're just they're unnecessarily blunt because of a bit of a language barrier. But what does that do? What does that say about the squad presently? Because they have to keep people's interest to be able to succeed here. it does not have to be, it doesn't have to rate well as a television product. And I don't mean to default back to like a general conversation about soccer as opposed to talking about the match itself. But I think for most people, you have to keep their attention and make the games something that are enjoyable to be about, because you're not going to get a big number on TV. That's just the way. And I think that's the case for most MLS clubs. I was talking to a buddy of mine. In fact, he was in town for steeplechase. And he played, he won a national championship in soccer at Notre Dame. He played for the Tampa Bay Rowdies. He got drafted by Real Salt Lake, then played a couple of years with the Tampa Bay Rowdies, which is a USL club, Lucas? Yes. So looking at that, we were kind of talking about it because he's getting ready to, he's a Titans fan, ironically enough, even though he's from Evansville, Indiana. And we were talking about a couple different things, local sports, and he said, what do you make of Geodis Park? And I said, it's great if they can keep people's interest, if they can keep people's attention. I almost think that having a coach like Gary Smith who's going to kind of lay the players out a little bit, and I don't know how often he does this. I can't say that I've listened to a ton of Gary Smith postgame pressers, but just for people to grab, because those quotes this weekend caught my attention. I'm like, damn, he's kind of laying into these guys in front of the media. Mike Mularkey used to do this a little bit too, in ways that sometimes coaches will try to get messages through to players through the media. This is something Mike Vrabel absolutely abhors. He said, he has told us many times, I would never say anything to you people that I would not say to my players first before I came out here. That's not how Vrabel does it. But some coaches do. And I think, while it may not, whatever the results on the pitch might be from Gary Smith's comments, whether the depth behind, the frontline guys who you're used to seeing, who you saw make the comeback against Atlanta United, whether that's going to kick them in the ass a little bit more to get them out there on Wednesday night to perform at a higher level, I don't know. But it's going to make people like me who are just kind of on the fringes, even though this is what I'm paid to do professionally, cover local sports, it's going to make people kind of take notice, be like, oh, that's pretty interesting. And then more people will get to know Gary Smith, which then further engenders you to the club, rightly or wrongly, because maybe you like Gary Smith, maybe you don't like Gary Smith. I think it's pretty interesting stuff.
That's as scathing a review as I've seen from Gary Smith about his team's performance. But with that said, he's always been very upfront. And I don't even know that it's so much of sending a message to his team as it is, I think he's just an honest person. In private or public, I feel like that would have been the answer that he would have given somebody that asked about his team's performance that day. It's been a while since Nashville's had a back down to earth type of day like that. Everything's been very, very positive over the last few weeks with a good road trip to start the season. The opening of Geodis Park was just a absolute home run, a great first 3 games at home, and then they'll come back on Wednesday to play a Montreal team that's playing very well, so it'll be interesting to see the bounce back. But that's just Gary. That's just who he is. That's how he speaks to the media, and it is refreshing, and it helps that you could probably create an audio book with him, and it doesn't matter what the book is. People would listen to it start to finish.
What book would you want to hear read in? Are you reading anything lately? What book would you like to hear read in Gary Smith's voice?
I'm reading a Civil War book right now. I don't know if that would be the best fit, but I don't know. I think Gary Smith could do the Civil War thing. He just couldn't do the Declaration of Independence history or something like that. Conflict of interest there. But no, he's always been that way in front of the media.
Well, I'm for that. I'd love more just blatant honesty, bluntness from coaches. We were asking what we should call this anytime we do a Lucas soccer update, basically. Lebowski has tweeted us, roll domestic/foreign soccer and F1 into the same topic and call it the Lucas Eurotrash update. Because last time we discussed Formula One on the air, we very quickly were buried with what was it? Something about sissy European?
Sissy Eurotrash. Yes, I believe that was.
Sissy Eurotrash is what. And listen, if you're a NASCAR fan and you believe that to be superior to Formula One, good on you. If you're a Formula One fan and you believe that to be a superior product to NASCAR, that's all well and good. But the people who believe the Formula One stuff to be sissy Eurotrash, you don't get to dictate how we spend our time. By the way, F1 Fellowship, I believe, is going to have to happen this weekend. So we will keep you updated on that because Lucas and I enjoy a good 8:30 beer or Bloody Mary or, in the case of V-Love, tequila shots with you at any given East Nashville bar. So we'll keep you updated on where we will host this weekend's F1 Fellowship later on this week. Another interesting story that's caught my attention is what's happening with Drew Brees. We spent a little time on quarterbacks earlier. We talked about the Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson situation, given that it seems that Baker likely will not be on the Browns' offensive trip to the Bahamas that Deshaun Watson is taking them all on. So I don't know how many people saw the headline yesterday. It was a bit of a news dump that Drew Brees is not expected to be retained by NBC Sports. Now, this comes on the heels of Tom Brady getting almost $40 million a year whenever he decides to retire, to be Fox's lead, both a Fox brand ambassador and their lead color commentator on NFL games. But Drew Brees, according to Andrew Marchand of the New York Post, who covers sports media as well as anybody, the headline is just one and done. Legendary NFL quarterback Drew Brees will not return to NBC after just one season as a studio and game analyst. Apparently, this was something that they believed to be mutual because Brees preferred doing the games over the Football Night in America studio show, and NBC doesn't have enough NFL games to put him on. Like, they can't just throw him at Sunday Night Football. They, I think, viewed him as the successor for Chris Collinsworth at some point, the same way that Mike Tirico was and is now the successor of Al Michaels, who is doing Thursday Night Football for Amazon Prime with Kirk Herbstreit. But Chris Collinsworth's still doing the job. And so now they're in this kind of a rut with Drew Brees where they don't have enough games to give him. Drew Brees wants to do games. He doesn't want to do the studio analyst stuff, even though I think if you're a television network, you probably want Drew Brees more visible than you do on a broadcast. Drew Brees, did you listen to any of the game? He did, because they did the Bengals-Raiders playoff game, and they were not good. Like, they missed the whole touchdown that shouldn't have been a touchdown sequence. And then they came back to it like several minutes later. Like, they just didn't, I can't remember exactly how it went down, but if memory serves, they like just didn't acknowledge that the whistle was blown prior to the touchdown being caught. And everybody else watching that heard the whistle and is screaming at their televisions or streaming. Say something about that. What happened here?
Just kind of went with the call.
Your job is to tell us what you're seeing from the booth.
I did like him in studio, though.
Sure.
I didn't think he did a bad job.
No, this is like the problem, and this is like the problem with athletes and how they, like former athletes, how they perceive themselves versus where they're best suited. Now, I'm not here to dictate this for guys like Alex Rodriguez and Drew Brees, but A-Rod is not well received on the Sunday Night Baseball broadcasts for ESPN. People don't like A-Rod as a color commentator. They don't think that he breaks down what he's seeing well. But when you put him on the studio show with Fox, with Pete Rose and I believe Kevin Burkhardt, I assume Kevin Burkhardt's going to do the games now for Fox as opposed to being their studio host. But like that whole studio setup where he can kind of work off like Frank Thomas and everybody else. A-Rod is much better in that setting. But I'm sure Alex Rodriguez would prefer to be the voice of Sunday Night Baseball. I'm sure Drew Brees would prefer to be the voice of Notre Dame football or Sunday Night Football. But he's much more relaxed. They get a lot more out of him. And if you're NBC, you're trying to find ways to drag people to the pre, halftime, and post-game coverage instead of looking down at their phones during the commercial breaks once the games itself aren't being played. That's why I almost think Fox would be better served to put Brady in a studio show, because the whole thing is Brady on camera. You're not going to see Brady during the games other than, the initial welcome into, AT&T Stadium from Arlington, Texas, the site of today's Dallas Cowboys versus the Philadelphia Eagles, right? And then it's just that quick look at Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady, and then you just hear Brady's voice for the rest of the time. If you're paying that kind of money for Drew Brees or Tom Brady, I would think you would want them on the camera, I don't know that Tom Brady's going to be good at this. I'm going to watch the football games anyway. $37.5 million for Tom Brady is not being paid because Tom Brady is going to garner additional ratings. Nobody is going to move the needle that way on an NFL broadcast in ways that the football itself would not already dictate what kind of a number that was going to do on television. But to put them on the studio show, who do you think is the most? Lucas, you're a current play-by-play professional and looking to do jobs like this, I'm sure, at the height of your career. Who do you find as the most valuable asset on sports television from a former player's perspective? It can be hockey, baseball, basketball, football. Is there because I have a name in mind who I believe to be the most valuable asset, probably in sports broadcasting, and he doesn't do games.
I would have said up until maybe the end of last season, Tony Romo. With the way that's the first big money that you've seen from a former player doing analysis in the NFL. But I think, I don't want to call it a shtick, but I think what made Tony Romo shoot to popularity kind of waned in that he's not doing the thing that attracted everybody to him in the first place, right? Basically predicting what was about to happen on the field. He stepped away from that. And I feel
he's just further removed from the games. He can't do it as easily.
Well, and how do you know somebody's not in his ear saying, hey, stop doing that? Fans don't want to be told what's about to happen before they see what's about to happen. Because the way that it dropped off so dramatically, I feel like somebody was in his ear saying that as a criticism. And it kind of turned into him, I think, talking in circles just a little bit, right? Like talking himself
I'll be honest
stuff
with you.
During games.
I don't know. I haven't heard Tony Romo. It's probably been, I think the first game of Tony's career, I heard him do a game because it was Titans-Raiders in the broadcast booth because he was calling out what Derek Carr was checking into at the line of scrimmage. And, yeah, that's going to be a run left by Marshawn Lynch. Outside of that, I haven't heard Tony Romo do a game just because I'm working on Sundays. I don't see those games live.
So I think Tony is the most valuable asset, though, in that he is the first former player to create this boom in sports broadcasting. He's one of the reasons why Tom Brady's making $375 million over the course of 10 years. I think the best, I'm a huge fan of what Tony Dungy does in studio on NBC.
All right, the answer is neither of those people.
Okay, what's your answer?
Charles Barkley. Charles is the biggest commodity, the most valuable commodity in sports broadcasting from that standpoint. Because I will go out of my way, one, to watch that studio show in ways that I do not watch studio show programming otherwise. But two, because Chuck will say things. Chuck will fight Kevin Durant on television or through television. Drew Brees is not going at players that way. Stephen A. Smith's got a little bit of this too, right? You remember when he literally threatened Kevin Durant on First Take? You don't want to make an enemy out of me?
Yeah.
If you could find that clip before we have to go to commercial, I would love you forever because it is among the funniest pieces of audio that I've ever heard. But this was why Peyton Manning didn't want to do something like conventional Monday Night Football for ESPN. Peyton doesn't want to bash his buddies. This has been a problem with studio analysts who either played or coached is you get Rex Ryan every once in a while, but even then, Rex is a bit of a cartoon character. Charles is too, but he makes that show go. It's not Shaq. It's Shaq's relationship with working off of Charles. It's not Kenny. It's Kenny dropped in the middle because Shaq and Charles will openly dismiss him the way that they dismiss Kevin Durant as being a bus rider because they'll just completely exclude Kenny from the conversation and be like, yeah, no, Kenny, you don't understand what it is to drive the bus. You were the bus rider too. But you don't have somebody who's willing to openly criticize players or coaches outside of Charles. And that, I think, makes him the biggest draw in television, in sports television. Romo, he's got the party trick, right? The party trick is what does it for people. But now that the party trick is we're 5 years into the Tony Romo broadcasting experience, I think? And I don't remember Tony Romo ever saying anything interesting as a player, but I remember people around CBS talking about this like, yeah, he's going to really, really do well. And he does have a good personality for it. He gets excited. He gets you excited about the games. But he doesn't, it's not compelling in the way that Barkley is compelling.
It's the only studio show where someone that is not a fan of the NBA would tune in, right? Just because of the entertainment.
Yeah. Now,
like NBA fans that are strictly NBA fans probably aren't tuning into NFL studio shows the way it might be happening, vice versa.
Mark Jones on YouTube. By the way, you can live stream the radio show, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Mark Jones says Peyton Manning would be better than Brady at calling games. More people hate Brady than like him. No, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about Brady being hated or liked. It matters that you have a feeling about Tom Brady. You may watch Tom Brady on Fox at whatever point that happens just to watch Tom Brady fail, because we've never seen Tom Brady fail in a way that's meaningful. So maybe you spite watch it. But the only thing that you cannot be about Tom Brady, if you're Fox paying that money for Tom Brady, is apathetic. And that's not something that anybody is going to have about Tom Brady. Do you have the Stephen A. Smith audio?
You don't want to make an enemy out of me. And I'm looking right into the camera, and I'm going to say it again. You do not want to make an enemy out of me. I'm not having it.
He's talking to Kevin Durant, probably the best basketball player in the world right now. Can you imagine me getting in front of a microphone on a Monday after the Titans lost to the Jets and saying with seriousness to Mike Vrabel or John Robinson, "You don't want to make an enemy out of me, John."
It's got a real Wild West feel to it.
What is he doing? That's why he's the best. 615-737-1045. You're welcome to jump in on the conversation if you like. Some contracts were handed out in the NFL this weekend and even as recently as this morning. I'm going to tell you why those two things impact the Tennessee Titans as their roster construction is still underway, and tell you who the best player from Titans rookie minicamp was this weekend. Welcome back. Hope you're having a great Monday so far. Hope we're helping you get through it a little bit quicker than you might otherwise be. 615-737-1045, that's the number. If you want to jump in, 615-737-1045. People are really leaning into the sports media discussion that we were having. I consider Charles Barkley to be the most valuable person in sports media. Vibe Runners is asking me, wait, so is Charles or Stephen A the best? No. Let's not get confused. Do we have any kind of like big Robert's not here to do the big number sound or whatever. I just realized we didn't play Horse or Rock Band on Friday either, and he did so much work to prep for that. It's a terrible job out of me. Anyway, it's Mad Dog at the top of the list.
Right from the beginning.
Shut the hell up! Shut up! Keep your mouth shut!
It's probably Stephen A. Smith after that.
Happy birthday to him. I don't care. Good luck.
We don't have any Charles Barkley sound back there, do we?
And then it's Coach Mack.
No, Stephen A. is the GOAT. Charles Barkley is the most valuable. Let's not get this confused. And Mad Dog just makes me laugh the most because when he runs out of air, when he's screaming at Tom Brady's father about something, those are my favorite.
Is there any room for Bruce?
Fair weather, idiot.
Bruce Drennan, underutilized. We got a lot of run out of Bruce. What was the circumstance for that? It was like a random. I mean, now they're the Cleveland Guardians,
right?
I think it was like the game one of the Cleveland, the artists formerly known as the Cleveland Indians season. He does like a talkback show.
Yeah, like a Bally Sports in-studio call-in show.
John Burton does one of those for News Channel 5 Plus. How much Bruce Drennan do you have back there? Can I hear from Bruce again, please?
Yeah. You're an idiot.
We did get a lot of run out of that when it happened. And in fairness, neither of us knew who Bruce Drennan was before that soundbite came out. But he has a very decorated history in Cleveland.
He's a rap sheet. He's got a criminal record. Which, of course, makes for the best in sports talk conversation.
But that was over an early season game and a fan basically trying to burn it down because of some Cleveland player that wasn't taking swings.
You don't know anything. You don't know squat, you stupid idiot.
I love the fan yelling back at him.
I haven't gotten into a shouting match with any of the callers yet. Every once, like I'll go back and forth with Darrington a little bit, but I don't know. Charlie and Franklin, I am respectful of Charlie because Charlie is, I don't want to shout down an 80-year-old. is why we treat Charlie and Franklin with respect, but also because, he represents a segment of our audience that we need to do a better job reaching out to, even if that's going to involve not discussing things like the Corn Ferry Tour. Something that does affect everybody in the audience is what's happening in the NFL right now as far as contracts are concerned. So there was a couple of news items of relevance. Jarvis Landry went to the Saints on Saturday. Did you see the details of Jarvis Landry's deal? Because that, I think, is going to be the thing that catches Titans fans' attention the most. His contract at this point is super affordable. It's only a one-year deal. The money on it is $6 million, according to reports for Jarvis Landry. This is courtesy of Tom Pelissero at the NFL Network. 1 year, $6 million for Jarvis. So for a team that's cap-strapped like the Titans, $6 million for a receiver who was just kind of out there doesn't really do a whole lot. Now, my question would be, and I'm sure he's going to get asked this, why New Orleans? Now, I know he played at LSU. Is he from that area as well? I believe so, right?
Yeah, I believe he is, and as well as Tyrann Mathieu, who they just picked up the other week.
Sure. So you get homecoming for a couple local kids, and if you don't have a quarterback that's worth a damn, at least you can sell tickets because we've got the Honey Badger and we've got the juice. Well, not that juice, but this juice. 1 year, $6 million is something that you would have to move money around here to make work, but something also that I think still makes sense for them to add a player at that position. Now, we'll go through at greater length the available free agents at the wide receiver spot, now with Jarvis Landry off the board. But you're talking about, I mean, he had career lows all of last season, 52 catches, 570 yards, 2 touchdowns, dealing with injury. Wide receiver market has already spiked. I don't know what the structure of his 1-year, $6 million deal is. I don't know if it's fully guaranteed. I don't know if it's incentive laden, but he is 30 years old. I think that it is a worthwhile insurance policy for a team like the Titans because of something that happened this weekend at Titans rookie minicamp. And I'll tell you what that is coming up next.
It is 12:01. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Tennessee Titans wrapped up rookie minicamp at St. Thomas Sports Park over the weekend. Rookie quarterback Malik Willis met with the media on Friday and was, of course, asked about quarterback Ryan Tannehill's comments, stating it's not his job to mentor Willis.
Oh, man, we chopped it up. I mean, it was never anything negative. Ryan's a good dude, and he had us, like I said, he had us over the house. Everything's cool, man.
The team had several undrafted rookies participate and signed former Tennessee defensive back Kenneth George. ESPN's Adam Schefter reported this morning the Green Bay Packers are finalizing an extension with cornerback Jair Alexander for 4 years, $84 million. That's $21 million per year, a new mark for defensive backs. The Atlanta Braves dropped a series against the San Diego Padres over the weekend, losing 7-3 on Sunday. At 16-19, the Braves are at the Milwaukee Brewers tonight, a 6:40 first pitch. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
All right, final hour on a Monday. Always happens so much faster than I want it to. Anyway, let's enjoy this last hour together. Lucas Panzica is back there making it happen. You can join in on the fun if you so choose. 615-737-1045 is how you do so. 615-737-1045 is how that goes down. A lot of things to discuss in this final hour. Haven't talked yet about Titans rookie minicamp. Friday and Saturday is when that took place. They are back out on the field later today with both rookies and veterans. Well, not on the field, but they'll be in the building. OTAs are officially underway. We will not be allowed, the Vultures, the Titans media, like myself, we will not be allowed onto the field until a week from tomorrow. So not this Tuesday, but next Tuesday. And there was a couple of observations that I brought back for today's show that I think are of some newsworthiness. Now, probably the biggest headline, I think Lucas played it already, the Malik Willis, Ryan Tannehill situation, which I thought he handled. Honestly, I could not have been more impressed with Malik Willis at the podium. Now, winning a press conference does nothing. But for a player who comes from a smaller school, has probably had some exposure to a large group setting of media before, but not quite like that. I mean, obviously at Auburn, there is going to be some stuff, but that depends on the coaching staff, how much the players are exposed to. Players don't have obligations at the college level to media the way that they do in the pros. And he seemed a little nervous initially to get up there because, it can be a little bit of a different setting if you've ever taken a public speaking course, for example, except in this public speaking course, instead of you dictating what you want to talk about for 5 minutes at the podium, you're getting, questions about your competency and your skill set and why your starting quarterback doesn't want to mentor you and things like that. And you're having to Q&A on a rapid rate. And I thought he handled himself quite well.
But he's coming off the draft process where that's basically 90% of it, right?
Different, right? There's no cameras. There's no recorders. You're sitting in a more, relaxed is probably the wrong term because, having to break down your bad plays with Mike Vrabel kind of chirping at you in the background.
Not relaxing.
Mike in general, not a relaxing person. But yeah, to a degree, you're getting poked and prodded a lot, but still, there's something about getting up in front of a group of people like that with a bunch of cameras pointing at you and nobody really making eye contact at you because they're looking at your face through a phone, trying to take videos and things of that nature. It can be different. But we'll have a lot more time to talk about Malik tomorrow. What I want to talk about today is something that the internet ran wild with. One, because it's a slow news cycle at this point with rookie minicamps. There's not a lot that you're going to pull out of these things. But two, because it kind of stays in line with let's call it is it a trend? Is trend too strong a term to say that there is always something hovering around the Titans' top selection at the wide receiver position? Whether it be Corey Davis and hamstrings, whether it be A.J. Brown coming into his rookie minicamp overweight. I don't know how many people remember that. That was a thing. Whether it be what happened with Treylon Burks on Saturday, which was that his first day did not go to plan. So it was about, 86 degrees is what the car thermometer in my vehicle read. It felt more like 90 out in the sun. And Titans are on the field, the Titans rookies and the tryout players, the undrafted guys, and a couple of, I think there was 4 players who have been on the roster previously who they invited to participate. So they're all out there on the field at St. Thomas Sports Park. And Treylon Burks couldn't make it through his first day. Now, he was having a hard time in the team drills. He was not doing anything more than the individuals. So it's individual wide receiver work, right? So that's Rob Moore and the assistant coaches, whomever works with Rob and helps Rob orchestrate the drills, putting the wide receivers through their paces, right? They're teaching skills. This is why Mike Vrabel values this time of year so much. And he's breathing heavy. He's clearly overheated. He came back a little later. He had to be taken off the field. He was icing his shoulders, which I've never had heat exhaustion or been overheated at a football practice before where putting ice packs on your shoulders was the solution. But again, I'm not familiar with all the ins and outs of why that would be beneficial. Perhaps somebody in the audience understands that at a greater level or a deeper level than I did, because Mike Vrabel's only going to tell us so much. But came back, ran a few routes. He was working one-on-one with Rob Moore, the wide receivers coach, for a little bit. And then it was basically done. There wasn't a lot that happened for him on the field. Now, day 2, he was, I thought, perfectly fine. Like, he went through all the drills. Now you're getting hyper-analyzed if you're Treylon Burks because you didn't finish day 1. So now we're looking at, okay, how many times do you put your hands on your hips throughout the course of a 90-degree, hour and a half long practice on the field? This is something that I think, rightly or wrongly, he looked just a bit out of shape. Now, that's not uncommon. It's not ideal, but it's not uncommon. The thing that caught my attention was the inhaler. And we didn't get an answer on that. But Mike Vrabel was initially asked about Treylon Burks not being able to finish day 1 of rookie minicamp. And then I had a follow-up about, how common practice that is. This was the Titans head coach. Oh, Lucas will grab that here in just a second. But basically, looking at this, somebody has provided a explanation on the ice packs around the neck. Place ice packs against the neck, under the arms, and in the groin area where large blood vessels lie close to the skin surface will help quickly cool down a victim of a heat stroke. That's from Tighten Up Dracaris on YouTube. I don't know that it was a heat stroke, but it's certainly something that they seem to be trying to get his body temperature back under control. Anyway, here was Mike Vrabel at the podium afterwards.
I listen to Todd. We defer, to Todd. So, we all have to. We got to get these guys in here. We got to study. We got to learn what to do. Teach them our program. And so if he's back out there tomorrow, then we'll coach him up.
Obviously, you expect these guys to come in shape, but how much is something like that to be expected?
I think it's hard to think that they can recreate, with a trainer, how we do things, and we see that with guys that have come back and started with our off-season program and guys that have joined a few weeks in. It's just different, and I know that they're working and they think that they are trying to get in shape, but that's just not the case, and so that's something that we have to focus on and try to make sure that we're getting some work in, but with all of them, trying to be as smart as we possibly can, Jim.
So that's not singling out Treylon Burks. You heard Mike Vrabel kind of defer into, we do that with all of them, right? But he did point out, and this is something that comes up, this is why you have to pay attention closely. because a lot of people would get lost in coach speak elements of that. But again, listen to what he's saying. He's saying that, yeah, this is something that happens with guys who get training or have trainers or position coaches or skill guys who work on skills at their respective positions with them in the offseason that aren't doing it in direct accordance with the Titans program, right? So they do these things in the, what has it been, a month about since the, no, not a month. It's been about 2 weeks, maybe 2.5 weeks since the NFL draft has taken place. And Treylon Burks has had an offseason since his college football season ended and training for the combine and things of that nature to work, but not with the Titans program. So he gets here and I just think it got a bit much for him on Saturday. How much you have to take away from that? Honestly, like, I'm looking at it next to nothing. It's something to keep an eye on, but am I going to give you any grand indictments of Treylon Burks today because he didn't finish his first day of practice? No, would be foolish. We talked about this on Friday. It's freshman orientation for these guys. Now, would you like everything to go smoothly and for everybody to finish all their drills and to look like potential All-Pro and future Hall of Fame players at every position of all the 9 draft picks that you took? Sure, that'd be swell. But it's not typically how it goes. And you see this with rookies. You see this with veterans. Now, something that was brought up, Amy Vining on YouTube says, ever heard of allergies or asthma? Nashville media make a big deal out of every little thing. Well, yeah, but that wasn't disclosed to us, Amy. It's not making a big deal out of it. It's commenting on the thing that we observe. Now, if you make a big deal out of it, that's entirely your own prerogative. I've just told you that I have no intent of making any deal out of it. Was it something that happened? Yes. Was it something that's noteworthy? Yes. Was it something that needed to have a question asked of Mike Vrabel about? Yes. That's not a big deal. That's the reporting on the weekend. Now, there's other stuff that we can talk about. I've got a couple of notes about the player who I thought was the best guy out on the field that we'll get into here in just a second. But allergies or asthma, if that is a thing, which was not told to us, okay. But the heat as being something that would limit his participation in clear and obvious ways, that's not an acceptable answer when this is a player who played his collegiate career at Arkansas.
And was born and raised in Arkansas.
Right. And is, regularly running through the woods with dogs and a knife, tipping over wild boar and stabbing them in the head.
400-pound wild boar.
Does he take his inhaler on the boar hunt? I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know what happened. All I know is it happened, and we're talking about it. Nashville, I hate the generalization of Nashville media makes such a big deal out of everything. No, I'm literally telling you what I saw on the field. Amy says, not you, sorry. Other media that was out there making a big deal out of it. Okay, fine. You want to know who the best player was on Friday and Saturday? I'll tell you next.
The Buck Reising Show is powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Go to springhillac.com.
I saw Justin Timberlake wishing the Memphis Grizzlies a successful season. Wait, is Pilgrimage Fest, we've talked about this on the air before, is Pilgrimage Fest his thing? I feel like he has some involvement in that.
I don't know enough to say yes or no.
You got very excited to tell me about the lineup for Pilgrimage Fest a couple of months ago, and then I think I asked you that question, and we never came up with a follow-up. Anyway, rookie minicamp did take place this weekend. I can tell you who was there and who had great involvement. There was a lot of praise for a couple of players. I'm going to give you one. Well, there's only 3 defensive players in this draft class. And let me say this, all right, on the front end. There are some undrafted rookie free agents who you guys want to know about. Now, there hasn't been enough interest in them from you all for me to, bring and build out a full segment around the undrafted rookies. And to be honest with you, I saw a little bit of them because there were 17 guys who signed undrafted rookie free agent contracts with the Titans right before camp. I think that was Friday morning when they officially agreed to terms. But to get into it, we can save that for later on in the offseason into training camp when there's a little more that we all know about these guys. If you guys want to talk about that stuff, I can figure out a time to do it. It's just there was not enough perceived interest in it for me to spend a lot of time on it specifically this weekend. Now, what I obviously paid attention to was the draft class, right? The 9 players, 6 offense, 3 defense, and 2 in particular that caught my eye. Now, the best player at rookie minicamp on the field, undrafted, camp invite, returning vet of the 4 players who were on last year's roster that were invited to participate, that were asked to participate by the coaching staff, and the draft class. Most impressive player was Kyle Phillips by a mile. He looked the most comfortable out there. He had the most refined route running of anybody at his position. He is certainly slight of stature, but I'm sure for any of you who are paying attention to the reports coming out of this weekend that Kyle Phillips was regarded as the best performer. Now, there were a couple of passes that Malik Willis got to him that were hugely impressive. Do you know who the other quarterback out on the field was on Friday and Saturday? You do, but you may not have it top of mind.
Oh, yes, Quentin Dormady, right?
Yes, who is my age.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize his college career just ended. I was a senior when he got his first start against Georgia Tech in 2017.
Would it be good radio for me to ask Siri into the microphone how old is Quentin Dormady and to see what she comes up with? Would that be good radio?
Let's find out.
Okay. Hey, Siri, how old is Quentin Dormady? Yeah, that pause isn't helpful.
No, not good radio.
She couldn't come up with it.
Okay. We have a verdict.
We're swinging a miss. Happens every once in a while.
Now we know.
But how were we to find out if not for experimentation? Now I need to look it up how old he actually is because he's not 28. But I mean, he's got to be like 24 or 25, right? That's a pretty old rookie coming into the NFL. I know Velus Jones Jr. is another one of those. Do you have an age for Quentin Dormady?
Nope, still working on it.
Okay, apparently they just
it seems to be a mystery.
Chill. Look at this. A bunch of people in the YouTube chat, Chill Mode, Zach Bunch, a handful of people are saying, I turned on their Siri by saying, hey, Siri. Oh, that's great. All right. So listen, if we maybe a bit that doesn't work on the radio, but is an interactive bit, we figured it out.
Okay, he's 26.
He's 26. So he's your age.
He is my age.
And he's 2 years younger than I am. That is, he was not good. I can say that objectively. And I don't mean that as, a personal attack. I don't mean to make light of that. He's just, he wasn't very good. Quentin Dormady was throwing the passes that Malik Willis wasn't. Those were the 2 quarterbacks that were out there. Malik Willis had a couple of nice plays, but Kyle Phillips was the one that really caught everybody's attention. Now, if you didn't hear the interview that Blaine and Mickey did with Kyle Phillips, wide receivers coach at UCLA, Jerry Neuheisel, who, of course, is the son of Rick Neuheisel, longtime college football coach, and now I believe he works for SiriusXM and CBS in some capacity, yeah? Jerry Neuheisel was on Blaine and Mickey on Friday, and I thought his analysis of Kyle Phillips was exceptional.
He is a true football player. You know, if you have a chance to, and you can go back and watch his highlights, you can actually pause it. And anytime you watch him, he's always equidistant between everybody he's playing against. You know, in zone, we're always trying to tell him to find the fat of the defense, trying to find the open space. And every time you pause it, he's exactly where he's supposed to be. His understanding of coverage, his understanding of creating separation at the top of the route. There's a route against LSU, against Derek Stingley, who was a first-round pick, where he left him in his dust. Bennett decided to break a tackle on a spin move and score a touchdown against him on a big upset in the Rose Bowl. But he is a really, really special player, and what you can expect from him is a dynamic returner and somebody who will always be open when he needs to be open. You know, he was a huge third down threat for us, and he always knew how to create separation and create space, and he'll be a guy who will die for the Titans and will go out and make plays for you.
That gets you fired up, doesn't it? Go out and die. Well, no, you don't want him to keep his life at the forefront, but yeah. That is something that shows up on film, man. I'm telling you, the LSU game is probably the most famous game that Kyle Phillips played in this year, and of course was a highlight reel on the top corner in the NFL draft, Derek Stingley Jr. That is the kind of stuff that you can see on tape against a high-level opponent, and opponents the caliber of not only who he'll be playing in the pros, but within the division, because Derek Stingley Jr. is a Houston Texan and going to be a nice fit, honestly, for Lovie Smith's defense. I put one video out. Well, I put two videos out of Kyle Phillips over the weekend, one on Friday and one on Saturday. And in fact, the one on Friday was taken by was Austin Stanley, my colleague over there at A to Z Sports, who was kind enough to send it to me because I was focused on Malik just for the Friday practice, and then I was wandering around more on Saturday. So Austin took this video of Kyle Phillips, and the footwork, the foot speed is just insane. Utterly insane. Now, I've seen professional wide receivers go through drills before. I've seen Julio Jones do it. I've seen A.J. Brown do it. I've seen them look great and incredible doing those kind of things. But immediately, people started quote tweeting it and saying, "Oh, Cooper Phillips or Kyle Cupp," right? They're trying to turn Kyle Phillips into the Titans version of Cooper Kupp on day one of rookie minicamp, which is, of course, insane. How tall? Because Tomahawk, don't look at the YouTube chat, Lucas. Let's play a game. How tall do you believe Cooper Kupp is?
Ooh, I'm going to guess 5'11".
How tall do you think Kyle Phillips is?
I'm going to say 5'10".
Kyle Phillips is 5'11". Cooper Kupp is 6'2".
Really?
People are doing the tiny white slot guy thing to Cooper Kupp when he's a full-size NFL wide receiver, which is utterly nonsense. He's a big dude. I mean, 6'2" is my size. And, with a little less weight on him than I have. But either way, don't do the Cooper Kupp thing off of 1 foot speed drill at day one of Titans rookie minicamp. I implore you. Well, I was screaming. What was that, Thursday I did Blaine and Mickey, Lucas? And I'm screaming. Blaine's asking me the question about rookie minicamp and who I'm keeping an eye off. And I begged people, please, dear football gods, do not do the Mason Kinsey thing to me again this year. Not about Mason specifically, but just to find a random undrafted rookie who you want to turn into this year's Mason Kinsey or Mekhi Sargent or somebody who you fall in love with in the preseason who has almost next to no bearing on the actual success or failure of the football team. Kyle Phillips is not that. Kyle Phillips has legit potential. Kyle Phillips, I think, could be their starting slot receiver come week one, provided that he stay healthy. He was the most impressive player on the field on Friday and Saturday, frankly. And that was the thing that caught my attention the most. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to react to anything from rookie minicamp this weekend. 615-737-1045. Oh, somebody had called about Kyle Phillips and then dropped off. I was just getting ready to take that call. Call back if you want. Donnie D on YouTube says, Buck is acting like people have only seen Phillips in one drill and not watched all of his UCLA stuff too. LOL. People can be excited. I'm not acting that way. You are not you, Donnie, but a lot of you are acting that way. That's what I'm saying. I'm telling you that I can look at how many views that Kyle Phillips foot speed drill got from Friday at practice. And I can tell you just how much of it was, oh my God, the Titans have a Cooper Kupp. Look at him. He moves better than Cooper Kupp. He's got better foot speed than Cooper Kupp. He's not physically bigger than Cooper Kupp. In fact, it's funny to watch some of they do that drill where they put the boxing gloves on and it's ball security. So you're having one assistant coach. They're doing a ladder drill, right? The wide receivers, and they're holding the ball like a ball carrier. And one wide receiver coach will like slap at them with the blocking pad, just to try and recreate contact. And Rob Moore, or sometimes Vrabel, will put on a boxing glove and like swing at the ball and try to punch it out. It's funny to watch Kyle Phillips go through that at his size and then watch Treylon Burks go through that at his size. It's a much different experience. But as far as the obsession with Kyle Phillips is concerned, yeah, that was a lot of people. Can you guess? Let's play another game, Lucas. How many views did my foot speed drill of Kyle Phillips, how many views did that video get?
We're doing this? We're playing this game?
Yep.
20.
20 what?
20 views.
20 total?
Yes.
79.7 thousand
Congratulations.
Views of that's not what it's not a congratulations. What are you trying to, I'm trying to do a thing. What are you trying to undermine me for?
Everybody clap for Buck.
What the hell is that? That's not what I'm doing.
It's a lot of views.
Yeah, sure. But it's because people are upset. That's not why it's a lot of views. I hate you. I hate you. Help me. Help me do the radio show. It's not helpful. That he just fades in the background. He turns his microphone off and nobody can hear him laughing.
I'm just trying to undercut your attempt to plug how many views your video got to talk about Kyle Phillips.
I didn't try to plug how many damn views the video got. I'm saying that people lost their bleep over a video of a wide receiver doing a ladder drill. That's what I'm trying to convey. Not I'm trying to brag about how many views my video got, you jerk. Lucas, Mir says, Lucas, or I want a cookie for the amount of video views that I got. Yeah, okay, fine. Now, defensively, there was an impressive prospect on the field as well. Now, I didn't watch a ton of, well, there's only so much that we can report on, right? I can't tell you all the details because they allow us to stay out there for the full practice, and there are some restrictions on how much we can film and how long or how much detail we can go into on this. But what I did like, Roger McCreary is a fun player. I think he's going to really do well, and I think that he's going to be your competition at slot corner, at inside corner with Elijah Molden right out the gate. I think Caleb Farley, they're going to do their damnedest to make sure that he can start for them on the outside this year with Christian Fulton. But in the slot, I think the competition is between McCreary and Molden. Now, what I enjoyed was watching Theo Jackson out there. Theo Jackson got the first and only interception off Malik Willis that was thrown in 2 days of rookie minicamp. Now, it's just 7-on-7 stuff, and I can't tell you exactly the route pattern the receiver was running that Theo Jackson made the interception on because that would violate the reporting restrictions. But Theo Jackson made a great play on the ball and had a couple nice plays throughout the course of this. He's learning how to play not the full-time safety position, but he's learning how to play safety in their defense first and foremost. And I thought it was funny because we asked Theo about the interception. I didn't see the jawing on the field between Theo and Mike Vrabel, but according to Theo, that took place.
Yeah, so my guy KG was at corner. He was just trying to, get everybody in, high spirits. And then Coach Vrabel was like, cheerleader from Rocky Top. And I was like, okay, cool. So, and then I picked off the quarterback the next play. So, it kind of didn't talk after that. So, it was kind of funny.
Look at the nervous laughter. Yeah, I got to shut the head coach up. And then he doesn't know what to do, so he nervously giggles. But, yeah, so his guy KG is Kenneth George, who Vols fans know, a former corner at Tennessee, who, by the way, did sign a contract with the Titans after being a tryout player at their rookie minicamp. So congrats to VFL Kenneth George.
So Vrabel was jawing at George?
Vrabel was jawing at Theo because Kenneth George was getting Theo hyped up to make a play from the sidelines. So I think, Vrabel doesn't really, he's not directing it at them specifically, he's just bellowing like a water buffalo might out on the field. Mike's practice voice is objectively hilarious. It's terrifying if it's directed at you. If it's directed at you, God help you. But yeah, he's just kind of bellowing at people on the practice field, and it's funny that way because I'm 28 years old. I'm learning new cuss words from Mike Vrabel every time I walk out on the practice, and this is now the 5th year of Mike Vrabel on the field. But I really think Theo Jackson is going to be able to find a substantive role here in Tennessee at some point. I don't know that it happens his rookie year. Development and injuries and all these different things will factor into how soon or when he can contribute in a meaningful way. And special teams will, of course, be the focal point that will allow him to earn reps on the field. But when we look at what they lost in free agency, whether it be the offensive line attrition and the turnover that's necessary there, when you look at their secondary, where they are really set for the future outside of Amani Hooker, who's in a contract here, they are that entire corner group, or the bulk of the corner group, being Elijah Molden, Caleb Farley, Christian Fulton, and now Roger McCreary. Those 4 guys are all on rookie deals. So you've got a cost-effective solution at one of the most important positions on the football team, given what Jair Alexander just made today. Did everybody see that number? I think Jason and Ramon discussed that a little bit earlier. 4 years, $84 million for Jair Alexander. Just in the same way that you saw the wide receiver market spike. Well, guess what? People have to get paid to stop those guys. So you're going to see the value of corners going through the roof, and the Titans have done well to make sure that they have cost-effective solutions at that position while maintaining high-level talent.
And that's only 2 so far that we've seen in Denzel Ward and Jair Alexander get that type of money.
Well, the other ones probably want more. But those are the two that are the top of the market. The guy for the Browns and Jair Alexander with the Green Bay Packers. Looking at Theo Jackson's fit in this defense, because they play a lot of nickel, which is 5 defensive backs on the field, and a lot of dime, which is 6 defensive backs on the field. They play those a great deal on third down, as does the league. It's a very, very much pass-heavy league, and third down, obviously, you're going to see some obvious passing situations. So a lot of nickel and dime defense out there. What they had this year that allowed them to be more versatile with their looks and a little more creative with their defensive game plan, 1, the pass rush kicked ass, so that makes all the difference in the world. But 2, you had a player in Dane Cruikshank who you could basically leave on an island with the tight end, or leave him as the primary party responsible for the tight end position. Dane got a decent contract to go play for the Chicago Bears. And Dane really didn't crack that lineup until his last year here. Core special teams player, but derailed in the previous 2 seasons. I guess previous 3 seasons, because he was a 2019 draft pick. The previous 3 seasons, there had been different injuries at different points that had kept him from kind of truly realizing his potential for the Titans until the 2021 season. Theo Jackson has the ability to be that versatile player, even if he's not got the same size and the same length as Dane Cruikshank. They're going to look for a tight end matchup, and I think Theo Jackson has the ability within this scheme to do those kind of things. Super early. Going to be a lot more that we need to find out about these players. And again, nobody can predict health. But I think at this point, you really like what they have in this draft class as you kind of fill in the parts and pieces that they need. Now, offensive line remains a question. And how they continue to address that as we see more roster transactions being made, free agents being signed, and cuts coming in the very near future, then we can decide, or then we can make true judgments about what that final product looks like. Because right now, I think you have to look at the Titans' offensive line group as just a grade of incomplete. Wrap up the show. Poll questions next. Your phone calls, too. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Okay. Wrap it up on a Monday. Fun show. If you missed any of it, whether that was Trent Dilfer or Deshaun Watson's Bahama Beach vacation with everybody on the Cleveland Browns, except Baker Mayfield. Actually, we have an update on that. Legit journalism is being done around this story now because, of course, it's the question that's atop everybody's minds. Mary Kay Cabot, who is the foremost Cleveland Browns reporter at Cleveland.com. Baker Mayfield, unlikely to make this Browns offensive trip to the Bahamas that Deshaun Watson is hosting, I'm told. So Josh Dobbs, Jake Brisket, a.k.a. Jacoby Brissett, the other quarterbacks expected to be in attendance, but not old Bake. He's doing something. I don't know what he's doing, but he's doing something. Such a funny story. Last call for phone calls, if you got them, 615-737-1045. I'm looking. Did we miss anything from today? I feel like there's something that I skipped that I just wanted to say something off the top and then we'll do the polls. Steeplechase was incredible. 104.5 The Zone, the Champions Corner, that it's Cumulus Nashville, so it's all of our sister stations. It's Super Talk, WTN, that's 92Q, 103.3 Country, like Nash Icon. It was a tremendous setup. It was really cool to meet everybody who came out there. I know most people were just kind of filtering in and out from the Champions Corner section to come get the booze, come get the food, and then maybe find your own spot or your friends on the railside track. But I want to do that next year. I want to put a hell of a lot more effort. I don't want to say that, not put more effort into it. It's not like we didn't put effort into it this year, but it just kind of fell in a weird spot in the calendar right behind the Zone's golf tournament. And I think there was a lot of stuff that was caught up in the golf tournament, and then all of a sudden Steeplechase was right on our doorsteps. But it was a great showing. It was a beautiful, beautiful day for it. I thought we were going to get rained out, and we got super lucky. But many thanks to everybody who made that possible. And in particular, I don't know, do we have anything? We don't have anything celebratory besides Stephen A. Smith, do we? I mean, I guess we could use Stephen A. for this. No, I don't really like that. I just want to say that Christian Capozzi, for those of you who don't know who that is, he is one of the people that works in the Cumulus promotions department. There was a lot of different circumstances that Christian had to work through. Our main promotions guy, Rich, had a baby. I hope that everything... actually, do we know if Rich had the baby yet?
Yes.
Or Rich's wife?
Yep, their second child and Rich's first son.
Excellent. So congratulations to the Ferris family. But anyway, a lot of different circumstance. Put Christian in a big spot. If you don't know who he is, he makes a lot of things happen around here on the Zone. And
Stud.
I just wanted to say a special thanks to Christian, because without him, none of this would be possible. And I hope the people who are directly responsible for Christian's paycheck hear this as well, because he was an invaluable part of what we had going on Saturday out at Percy Warner Park, and that would not have gone nearly as well without him. All right, polls.
Hello, my name is Borat. There is a show in America called Buck Reising. I like very much. As a man named Lucas, like my producer, Azamat Bagatov, will update something called Final Pollings. I'm very excited, very excited. Do it, Lucas. La 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 la.
It's the la 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 la.
La la la.
La la la.
Powered by Two Rivers Ford. Custom order any new Ford from Two Rivers. They will deliver it to you when it gets manufactured. Conference finals are set in the NBA. Who wins the Eastern Conference Finals? 66% go Celtics over Heat.
That's recency bias and probably a little Grant Williams love. I think the Heat are a better basketball team. I'd probably take the Heat in, I'll say 6. I bet that's a fun series.
Who wins the Western Conference Finals? 61% go with Golden State over Dallas.
Warriors. Luka, though, trash talking the Suns and Devin Booker while he literally kicked their asses up and down the court for a full game yesterday. A blowout in Game 7. Bravo by the Mavericks. For getting to this point, I still think the Warriors are a better basketball team.
Luka, allegedly, according to Pat Beverly, one of the most underrated trash talkers in the NBA.
I believe it. You can see him out there talking. I listen, more of it. And Pat Beverly is somebody who values his trash talk, so yes. I would take Pat Bev at his word on that.
Which Titans rookie are you most excited to see in 2022 after the conclusion of minicamp? 53% say it's the first-round pick, Treylon Burks. 28% go Kyle Phillips out of UCLA. 15% with tight end Chig Okonkwo. And 4% go corner Roger McCreary.
Chig's going to be a fun player. They were working a lot of blocking drills with him this weekend. I think that's the area of his game that most needs to, be solidified for him to be a legitimate contributor in this offense, because that's what they value most. But yeah, I really like what Chig will likely bring to this lineup.
Timmy says Malik Willis, but we very purposefully left Willis out of this poll because barring injury, you will not be seeing much of Malik Willis.
I'm going to fight you on it through rookie minicamp. I'm going to fight you on it through OTAs. I'm going to fight you on it once we get to the preseason and all of you lose your minds as soon as Malik Willis throws his first preseason touchdown pass. If he plays, it's a bad thing for you this year.
Treylon Burks not finishing his first day of rookie minicamp. Big deal, little deal, or no deal? How about this? 65% say no deal. 27% say little deal. Only 8% say big deal. A measured approach by the 700 voters.
Bravo by the 700. I will say little deal just because it's, it's noteworthy and it didn't happen to anybody else.
Scoopman says the overreaction with this is approaching the same ridiculous level as the reaction to Tannehill's "I'm not a mentor" comment.
No, not even close. That led SportsCenter for a week. Relax.
It actually did.
No, straight up. Diana Rossini was at minicamp on Friday. I looked at Diana when we were walking to the facility, and I just said, "Oh, Tannehill must really be bleeped if they're sending you down here for rookie minicamp. Are you kidding me?"
It's like the 20th time I've seen a quarterback say something like that, but it got so much run. It wasn't a great couple of weeks when it comes to news.
Slow news day.
What's on the itinerary for Deshaun Watson and the Browns this weekend in the Bahamas? Goody says, me in my head. Don't say get a massage. Don't say get a massage. Don't get a massage. He's definitely getting a massage.
I'm not going to make the joke because it's a serious ongoing legal situation, although the circumstances around that, I think, are something we can still have fun about.
The NFL will be meeting with Deshaun Watson very soon, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, about time. We'll find out whether he's actually going to play. And so this wasted Bahamas trip down to, or this wasted trip down to the Bahamas to find out, if he can create chemistry with his teammates. It's not going to matter if he doesn't play in 22.
Those are the polls.
All right. That's the show. Blaine and Mickey are next. See you tomorrow.